Live from the virtual Hockenheimring here in virtual Hockenheim, Germany. Welcome sim racing fans to the Wave Italy Apex Racing League Prototype Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Happy that you all could join us on this beautiful Friday afternoon wherever you are in the world. I'm your host Joshua Lee. Alongside with me in the commentary box is Dane Baird with Marco Barbonera down in the virtual production trailer. And Dane, week 2 of this series, we got out to a great start at the Nürburgring. We stay in Germany, heading over to Hockenheim, one of the newest circuits on the iRacing service. This is going to be a bit of a dark horse for a lot of these drivers. A lot of them have very little idea of what they're going to expect when they take the green flag.
Yep, absolutely. This is the newest road course on the iRacing service, so lots of drivers probably wouldn't have driven it too much. I heard a couple of drivers after the round at Nürburgring saying they started to buy the circuit, including yourself, Josh, buying the circuit about 10 minutes before we went on air. But regardless, some of the drivers would have had more practice than others. Nürburgring, pretty much everybody's driven at the Nürburgring at least 3 times before that round. But yeah, Hockenheim is going to be a new one for pretty much everybody on the grid today. And none of the series with the LMP1 cars have actually gone to the Hockenheimring, so they don't have any setups. So they have to make their own setups for the circuit, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge for them as we see one of those LMP1s going through turn number 1. It's a very wide circuit here, and it's a lot of fun, especially in these high downforce machines.
3 classes that we'll be watching today. The LMP1s, 5 drivers will take the green flag there. Then in the LMP2 class, we'll have 2 divisions. One is the Pro division, 5 drivers there, denoted in blue on your timing tower, and the LMP2 AM class denoted in green. And you can see already some of the LMP2 AM drivers starting to punch their way into the Pro class bubble, and the first one being Kieran Smart, 1:27.201. Kieran Smart also comes into this race as your current LMP2 AM points leader, sitting with 26 points, 1 point above Tim Perry. So we focus on Alexander Spetz for RLR Abruzzi Esports Silver, currently sits on the pole in LMP1, and we have 5 LMP1 drivers, no Pro or AM there this season. And all 5 today are all Audis. So we'll be watching all of those. No Porsches lining up in the grid as positions start to shuffle between the LMP1s. Alex Salmon goes to 2nd place, and Phil Baldwin going to fall to 3rd. Alex Salmon leads your LMP1 points by about 7 over Jan Korbs. And then looking back at LMP2 Pro, Rick Jonk is going to lead that point standings, as we'll grab a look at your full point standings for each of our divisions here in a moment, as we take a look at Jan Korbs coming down the back straightaway here at Hockenheim. And there's your point standings for LMP1. Alex Salmon currently holds the lead ahead of Jan Korbs, Phil Baldwin, Julian Boutte, and Jean Hopkinson. And then, of course, Benson Nemeth, Alexander Spetz, and Nicholas Labiche, unfortunately, getting 0 points out of round number 1. They'll see if they can get on the board here in Hockenheim. Everybody in LMP2 Pro walked away with points out of the Nürburgring. Rick Jonk, Timo Heinen, Paulo Munoz, Wes Van Dyke, and Owen Carl round out your top 5 there. Alexis Biebert and Erajus Jomantas rounds out your 7 LMP2 Pro cars. Then, the largest division we have, LMP2 AM. Kieran Smart leads the way there by 1 point, only 3 points over Jason Marichal. Tim Berry sits in 2nd. Matthew McBride, Cesar Cabral round out your top 5. And then it's Sean Franchus, Hellegard, Roy Moss, Aaron Smith, Kevin Richard, and Hans Blanquart rounding out your top 10. And everybody in LMP2 AM throughout that top 10 only separated by 12 points. It is a close battle in LMP2 AM as we begin this season, Dane.
Absolutely, and heading into the final round of Season 1, it was exactly the same story. We had LMP2 AM was the closest category out of all of them. It's proven to be a really competitive field, and it's great to see that that's carried over into Season 2 here as well. But looking at Spetz, he got pole position in the Nürburgring as well, and he just had those 2 unfortunate incidents early on in the race within the first 5 laps, and yeah, that put him out of the race. but he could have done a lot better. And yeah, that 0 points score that he got after that first round, it really is showing nothing of his ability. So hopefully he can have a bit of a better round here and have a bit of a battle with the likes of Salmon, obviously reigning champion and winner in round number 1, and also Laubish Baldwin as well up there, just a second off. Corbs as well in 5th place. He was a lot better at the Nürburgring in terms of qualifying and in the race. So see if maybe he can improve in the final minutes of qualifying here. But LMP1 it's really interesting to see, especially with the traffic playing such a huge role in that race. We saw Salmon catching right up to the back. Oh, I think it was Corbs near the end of that race. And yeah, it's really interesting to watch LMP1s make their way through this massive LMP2 field we have.
And we talked about the Nürburgring, it being quite a thin track, not a lot of room to go side by side. We see that a little bit here at Hockenheim, mainly on one of the backstretch concourses, or so to speak, around turn 7, turn 8. You can see it going through right here, where as we watch Kevin Richard, it gets a little bit tight going through these back sections. How difficult is it going to be for these guys to navigate there, Dane? Because we saw it be such a challenge at the Nürburgring. Do you think it's going to be the same challenge here at Hockenheim?
For most of the circuit, I would say no. The track is really wide in the modern sections. But once you get into the stadium section, this is all part of the old layout of the circuit that hasn't been redone. It's very narrow here, as you can see. We're watching from the blimp. It widens out near here, near the final corner. But before that, those few corners in there, the couple of hairpins, it's quite difficult to try and make anything stick there. It might be a little bit difficult for the LMP1s to make their way through the LMP2 field if they catch up to them in that final sector. But everywhere else, a really wide circuit, and it really lends itself to 2 wide, even 3 wide racing in some parts.
Taking another look at Kieran Smart as qualifying gets ready to be wrapped up. Only a handful of cars remaining on the track. Timo Hayden trying to improve on his 2nd place time in LMP2 Pro. Just exiting the hairpin of turn 6 down to turn number 7. Fast right-hander onto one of the medium straights on this course and into turn number 8. The Mercedes Arena sort of portion on this track. Cesar Cabral in the 370. Currently 11th in LMP2 AM. He definitely wants an improvement, but I don't think he's going to get back to the line, as we have about 15 seconds before we take to the starting grid. So Dane, heading into today, we have a lot to talk about with the point standings, but this series and this season still definitely in the early stages of Season 2. What are you expecting as we head into Hockenheim?
Hopefully, some great racing. We saw some really good racing in Season 1 at Nürburgring as well. So yeah, hopefully we can get the same here, as the pace truck is ready to have the field line up behind it.
Everybody going to take to the grid now. Alexander Spetz sits on the pole in the 115. Jan Korbs in 2nd. Alex Salmon 3rd. Phil Baldwin 4th, with Nicholas Labiche rounding out your top 5 and all of your LMP1 cars. Alexis Biebert in 6th place overall. He'll start on the pole for LMP2 Pro. Timo Hayden, Wes Van Dyke, Owen Carl, and Erjus Jomantas rounds out your top 5 for LMP2 Pro. However, Erjus Jomantas will be starting down in 18th overall, and there you see him on your starting grid. Kieran Smart starts on the pole for LMP2 AM. Then it's Chris Danes, Matthew McBride, Tim Perry, and Jason Marichal rounding out your top 5 there. And the remainder of your 26-car starting grid will be scrolling on your screen. And everybody getting ready to go now here at Hockenheim. The starting grid starts to populate, and we'll be taking the green flag. Of course, traditionally here at the Hockenheimring, used to seeing F1 standing starts. Here we'll be starting behind the official iRacing pace truck. The LMP1s will take the green flag first, then we'll wait a bit, and the LMP2s will take the green flag, put the Pro and the AM together. As you can see, the entire field of LMP2s there getting ready to take the green flag.
Yep, and we'll have to wait about 10 more seconds and then they can get moving. Each of the classes has to start on their own, the car classes that is, so LMP1 and LMP2 are going to be separated at the start by around 5 to 7 seconds. That's what the LMP2 leaders have been asked to do, and each class will be starting at the leader's discretion once they pass the end of the blue and white curb on the outside of the final corner. So they have to wait until they're well and truly onto the main straight, the pit straight, before they can get going. And you can see Spets is very keen to get going, but it looks like the driver in second not so much.
That is your LMP1 field. Only 5 cars, all Audis starting today. They'll make their way through turn 12, one of the tightest corners on this track in terms of the direction of the corner and, of course, the track width there. But the iRacing base truck getting ready to pull into the pit lane. And it's time to go racing round number 2 of Season 2 of the Wave Italy Apex Racing League Prototype Championship. Alexander Spets in control of the field, and he'll take the green flag. We're underway in Germany. Great start for Alexander Spets as he takes the lead. Still 2 by 2 further back for second and fourth. Oh, contact made, and LMP1 goes straight off. That's going to be Nicholas Labiche making contact with Phil Baldwin as the LMP2 take the green flag getting down to turn 2.
Yeah, there was just a lock up from the car on the inside, looked to go 3 wide with Salmon and Corbs, but that wasn't going to work, so tries to back out, but then locks up, and oh, there's a big off in the background. Someone's turned around, someone's on the inside wall as well. A couple drivers off on the outside as they head to Parabolica for the first time in LMP2, and the 370 car in the background. Lucky to get away with that one. Salmon now going round the outside into the Mercedes arena on Jan Corbs, but not able to do anything with that. Good defense there from the driver of the 158.
And Alex Salmon is your current points leader. Jan Corbs in second place. So these guys are at the top of the standings right now. Your current leader, Alexander Spets, went out of round number 1 with no points. He's already having a better day than he did in the Nürburgring 1 week ago. As we take a look at Kieran Smart, it was dropped back a considerable amount, set 7 positions in LMP2 AM. After, I believe, he was caught up in that first lap incident that we were taking a look at. So he is already in the negative as we get started here at Hockenheim. One car in the pit road, that is Phil Baldwin. He is the car that got contact with the 117 after the 117 locked up the tires and went off. So he's into the pit lane as we join back with the LMP2 Pro leaders.
And yeah, very wide line being taken there by the LMP2 leader. They're just going side by side through turn 1, and the track limits allow you to do that. Are they going to go 3 wide? The 343 wanting to go there, 358 having none of it. Roy Mass, the Dutchman, having absolutely none of that. Doesn't want to go 3 wide, but he's going to be forced to. Oh, there's a bit loose behind. Was Kim Smart, was it? No, it wasn't. It was Richard that got all loose, and that's allowed Smart to get up into 7th in P2M, but now there's a whole cluster of cars trying to make their way through down towards the hairpin. They're going to go 2 wide in the front.
Oh, one car around as he goes in the braking zone for turn 6. I believe that was Kevin Richard who was able to get that car locked up. He was able to get it going as well. Doesn't look like a lot of damage to it or any damage at all. It's powering around the outside. Goes Roy Maas trying to take that lead. They're trying to take 5th place, the lead of this group, and he will do it. And one car off, that's Chris Daines. Trouble spot on the day seems to be that back straightaway as this field continues to go battling for 4th in LMP2 AM. It's Roy Maas versus Matthew McBride and Kieran Smart in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, it's all well and good trying to go side by side into the hairpin, but you have to remember that although it's very wide on entry, it narrows up considerably in the middle of the corner and on the exit, so trying to go 2 wide there is maybe not the best of ideas, despite it being such an inviting overtaking opportunity. And yeah, I think that's what we've just seen there, unfortunately. But the Spets out in front of LMP1 is doing a pretty good job there. He's pulled up a 2-second gap as they come to complete what would be lap 3 for these drivers. Alex Salmon, who we are riding on board with, dropping back slightly, but still well within that range where he could gain some time in the pit stop, so even just gain some time in the draft. So it's not over at all by any means for Salmon. They go side by side through the hairpin once again, and the 318 on the outside, they're making contact, door rubbing, even though there isn't any doors, there aren't any doors to bang in these LMP2 cars on the side. But 318 eventually backs out of that one.
Moss, McBride, and Smart continue to battle for 4th in LMP2 They make their way back into turn 11 through one of the tighter spots on this course. Really narrows up to only about 2 wide. And you can see Matthew McBride are on board with him now as he tries to chase down Roy Moss. He hasn't been able to get too far up the road, so McBride's still able to make a move if he gets close enough as we hop up to the battle for the LMP2 Pro lead between Alexis Beber, Timo Heiden, and Owen Carl. Heiden all over the back bumper of the 217 as they race through the Parabolica turn 5 down to turn 6.
Yep, only 3/10 is the gap, but he's not going to be able to make a move up the inside there. The outside line's actually quicker if you can get it right through the hairpin. If you're running side by side with someone, it's a bit of an odd corner, just the way that the inside line tightens up so much. But Alexis under no threat, or no immediate threat, that is. But definitely has Timo Heiden looming in his mirrors, and he's well aware if he makes a single mistake, then Timo's going to be there to pounce. And there is a car going straight off. What's their contact? Or is
Roy Moss.
358 just completely outbrake themselves?
Roy Moss goes straight off. Matthew McBride goes through. I didn't see any contact. It might have been. It just looked like he went way wide into that corner. You're on board with Roy Moss. We'll see if there's contact with the 318 of Matthew McBride behind.
There was.
There was a huge bit of contact. Shoved him right off the road. So that was not outbraking. That was contact. Moss not going to be happy about that one, but now he has to deal with Kieran Smart all over his back bumper. And here comes Juice Baumeister and Chris Danes as well.
The 327. I don't know how Chris Danes has held on to that one. We saw him get loose out of the Mercedes arena earlier and in the gravel trap, but getting loose out of the final corner and somehow saving it.
So this was out of the Mercedes arena, and we unfortunately won't have a replay of that save, but it was very impressive as up the inside goes Jackson Bell on Aaron Smith, and he'll overtake for second place in LMP2 as everybody fights coming out of turn 6, but he's going to try and retaliate the 342 of Aaron Smith. Back to the inside, quickly turns outside, the 399 shoves it up the middle, and he gets it.
How has he made the corner there? He sent it in so deep. I really didn't think that Jackson Bell was going to make the corner there. Aaron Smith looked like he had the move pretty much done, but no. Bell managed to come back and out onto the green painted tarmac AstroTurf on the outside there, getting a little bit loose, but able to hold on to that second position now. But that's allowing Tim Perry to move up the order just a little bit, and he's got a 2.5 second gap now, Perry out in front, which he'll be very happy to see, as we have Baldwin making his way through the LMP2 field. Obviously had to pit on lap 1, so got overtaken by quite a few of the LMP2 cars. You can see the top 5 in LMP2 still ahead of him overall. 2
seconds currently the lead over Alexander Spetz. Jan Korps trying to chase him down. You can see him coming out of the final corner there. Then Alex Salmon. 2 RLR Abruzzi Esports Silver drivers lead the way. Then it's OCM Racing, then Urano Esports. Your top 4 at LMP1s and overall right now. As working his way now through turns 3 and 4 and into turn 5 goes Alexander Spetz, who qualified on the pole, able to keep that spot as he works his way now through more LMP2 cars. And Dane, you can see how that track map that our producer Marco Barbadera has thrown up he has a whole host of LMP2 cars that he's going to have to navigate through for the next few laps.
Yep, most of the LMP2 field in front of him. I think it's only Maricalo and Blanco in 14th and 15th in LMP2 AM. The only two drivers that he's actually lapped. So he's got a lot of drivers he has to still get past in this first wave of traffic. And we'll see if Corbs can try and take advantage of this, because Spets are going to take the bulk of this traffic in that final sector. So Corbs could use this to gain a little bit of time. We'll have to wait and see. Although that's not what you want to see coming out of the hairpin there. Side by side out of the final corner there. That is Danes and Baumeister.
And Baumeister not happy about that move. You can see the headlight flash. Chris Danes really sent it up the inside and he used him up the track, and very close to making contact. They didn't, but it was very close, as Danes is going to try and protect that spot. The 348 going to fall back now into 8th in LMP2 AM as Danes tries to run away, catch up to Kieran Smart, who's in front in 6th. Battling with Roy Moss in the 358. We'll see if any moves get made in turn 6, but here comes Jan Korbs around them in his LMP1. He's going to join the battle. Not going to affect anything, and right around goes Jan Korbs trying to navigate through. Oh, it's Alexander Spets. My apologies, Alexander Spets. There's Jan Korbs behind him as Spets navigates through the LMP1, the LMP2 field in his LMP1. Obviously, the LMP1's a good bit faster than the LMP2's, about 5 to 6 seconds faster to be exact, around Hockenheim. As you're now on board with Alex Salmon, doing the same thing the other leaders are doing, navigating his way through this LMP2 field.
And yeah, traffic management really important for the leaders in this race, because you can lose a lot of time. You can also gain a lot of time if your traffic management is bad or good, as the case may be. But Spets and Corbs doing a pretty good job there. Salmon's gained about half a second to the leader in this first wave of traffic so far. They're catching up to the leaders in P2 AM at the moment.
On board with Aaron Smith, currently second place in LMP2 AM, but there goes Alexander Spets screaming right by Aaron Smith. Those LMP1s do not waste any time. They get up and go compared to the LMP2s. But still on board with Aaron Smith, and you can see quickly closing in. That's Jackson Bell for Bell Autosport in the 399 right behind him. As Smith tries to run away, another LMP1 goes right on by.
There'll be another on the inside in a moment. There's a car off the circuit around the outside of the orange sausage curb there, and Baumeister has made Arias Chimantis unhappy. Now, why is this? Arias Chimantis trying to go for a move to the outside of the hairpin. Maybe going to get forced wide? No, just really slow on the apex there was Baumeister, and you can understand why Arias is a bit angry about that, because Baumeister just parking it in the middle of the circuit.
That was a bit of a risky move from Baumeister there, albeit went slow through the apex, but couldn't help but wonder if the car behind of Jamantas might have gotten on the gas a little bit too quickly, was going through the corner a little bit too quickly, and just didn't know Baumeister would be that close. So an unfortunate racing incident, but keeping up now as they race through, and off goes Jamantas on the front straightaway. The 271 in the grass, 5th in LMP2 Pro, and way down the order overall in the grass on the front straightaway. Let's see what happened here. We can grab a replay. Here it is. They come onto the front straightaway. We'll grab that replay. Here it is, onto the front straightaway. So the 271, did he just get loose coming off the corner? Yes, he does. He was not able to pull a Chris Danes and save it. He's in the grass.
He almost got it, but it just overcorrected slightly, and that sent the car into a pendulum effect. And yeah, that's not what you want to be seeing. Good old tank slapper there, and he was not able to catch it sufficiently, and it sent his car into the grass. But he's dropped down a lot now, and with his fellow P2 Pro classmates around about 30 seconds up the road, it doesn't look good for his points position at the end of this race, and I believe even worse for him. Oh, 343 of Richard has just saved that though. Coming through onto the stadium section, somehow manages to save it, and somehow Hagerok has managed to keep out the back of him as he was going a bit slowly into the final couple of corners there. But as I was just saying with Yamantis, the LMP2 class is scored as a whole car class. So Yamantis, finishing all the way down there, isn't going to lose a single position's worth of points to Van Dijk, who is in 4th in that class. He is going to lose a whole host of, 13 positions between himself and Van Dijk's worth of points. As we can see, Salmon has caught right up to Jan Korbs.
Alex Salmon looking for 2nd place. They're a good bit, about 3 seconds back from your current leader, Alexander Spetz, who has checked out from the LMP1 field, and going a little bit wide up there is Jan Korbs. Alex Salmon can see that, and he is on a mission to try and grab P2. You're on board with Salmon now as he goes to work in his LMP1, trying to take over 2nd place. These are your main 2 rivals in the championship right now, albeit it's only after round number 1. But Salmon leads with 40, and off the track goes Jackson Bell. Is he gonna hit the wall? Yes, he is. A slight tap to the tire barriers, but he is beached in the sand and back onto the track. It looked like, Dane, another incident of just getting loose and getting off the track, and these LMP1 and 2 cars just get sucked off whenever they get onto the grass or into the sand. Oh, and he hit the curb as well.
Yeah, and it's just going to go so painfully slowly into the wall, almost like Charles Leclerc in F1 in that really wet race that we had. And yeah, that was a different corner, but just very similar. Really slow across the gravel into the barriers there, and that must have been a very painful one to have to go through as the driver behind that car of Bell there. But really unfortunate for him. But it's just that the car, I think it might be bottoming out on the curbs, because I know from driving GT4s around here, as we've got a spinner. That's not where you want to be spinning. There's no way for drivers to be able to avoid you there, and I think he's been really lucky there with Baumeister. That's a very dodgy one there. But as I was saying, I think the cars are just putting the wheel over the curb and the car's bottoming out over it. Let's see on the inside a rear lockup maybe, and Kieran Smart just about avoids contact at the front, but I think he gets hit a little bit of a tap to the side.
It definitely looked like he just got loose down there on the inside. No damage for anybody, just maybe some worn tires for Roy Moss, as he has been around twice now today. Has a mirror full of Juice Baumeister as they go battling through turn 12, and they'll be heading back onto the front straightaway to start another lap here at Hockenheim. About 16.5 minutes down, and still a considerable amount left in this race. About 43 minutes left to go. An hour on the docket here for the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship, and here's the current gap between Alexander Spetz and Jan Korbs, and you can see it's been continuing to grow lap by lap. Started out on lap 7, only about 2 seconds, and now about 3.5 as they work lap number 13.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's just making his way past a little bit of LMP2 traffic there. He's catching back up to Maricala and Blancois at the back of the P2 field now. So they make their way to start lap 14. But yeah, Jason Perry out here. Tim Perry, sorry. He's doing a great job with a 5-second lead over Smith. Just behind him. Well, not just behind him, 5 seconds behind him. So he's doing great out there at the moment. And it looks like he might be able to continue this progress that he's been having over the back of last season and in the first round of this season.
And there's Jan Korbs still battling with Alex Salmon, 4/10 behind as they head into the hard braking zone of turn 6, and still navigating through some LMP2 traffic. They're not completely through with it yet, but as they head by the 376 of Jason Marichal, believe they're going to be having at least a solid bit of open track now that they can try and work in. 3.5 seconds up to Alexander Spetz at the front of the field, and you can see on your track map Betts just now leaving turn 12, and these guys just now entering turn 12. So they're still fairly close together in terms of on the racetrack, but that gap still growing ever so slightly each lap. And if it continues to do that, they're going to need to try and pull a rabbit out of the hat in the pit strategy to try and grab the lead.
And we've seen Salmon be really good with in terms of pit strategy when they're picking the right time to make the pit stop, because of course traffic slows you down. So if you can take a pit stop and avoid some traffic and get out in some clear air and put down some good lap times, and your opponents either have to deal with traffic before or after their pit stop, you can gain a lot of time in that pit in the pit window. And Salmon and his spotter have been really good at avoiding the traffic when they take their pit stop over the last season, and in the last round as well. He gained loads of time at Nürburgring.
We'll see how that pit strategy will come into play. Pit stop's coming up in just a little bit as around goes Aaron Smith on the front straightaway. A tough day for that 342, and damage to the left rear. That's not going to be good for his LMP2.
Did he end up in the wall? Yes, he has. Ooh.
Ended up on the wall there as well, and it's another instance of going just a little bit too wide coming off that final corner. It's tough to save these cars, and it's just the same thing. Too much power coming off and right into the sand and around, and harsh damage to the entire left side of that car.
Well, something else might have happened here heading into turn 2. He's got a lot of damage. Is he going to loop it around maybe? Yes, and is going to tow back to the pit lane. So bad day gets a little bit worse for Aaron Smith there.
So he'll now be in the pit lane, and we'll see if he makes his way back onto the racetrack to conclude today's race. 20 minutes down, about 40 to go as we get an update on the battle between Jan Korbs and Alex Salmon. And Salmon's been losing a bit of time the last couple of laps. Last time by for Jan Korbs, a 1:19.16, sorry, a 1:19.8. A lap for Alex Salmon last time by was 1:19.9. Their fastest laps of the race for Jan Korbs was a 1:19.16. For Alex Salmon, 1:19.30 as they continue to go battling into turn number 12.
Korbs taking the extreme wide line there. We've seen a couple drivers get punished for taking a bit of a wide line. He took that to the extreme and went out into the gravel. Luckily, he didn't lose too much time, and Salmon's going to get stuck behind Laubish here. Or not Laubish, Arias Mantis in the 271. Flashing the headlights, but he's lost out quite a bit of time there to Korbs in second.
That was a great move from Jan Korbs to basically put Yomantas in between both of those LMP1 cars and hold up Alex Salmon. Now, of course, Salmon didn't like it that much, but a great move from Jan Korbs to basically just shove an LMP2 in between them. And he's going to do it again as they head into turn number 6. In the middle of those two is the 356 of Jean-Francois Hellegorch.
Yep,
on board with Kevin Richard now battling with Cesar Cabral.
Yeah, fighting for the lower end of the end of the top 10 in P2AM. They've got a bit of LMP1 traffic. Salmon sends it down the inside of Korbs, and they almost make contact. This traffic really holding up Korbs, and Salmon's managed to get through this time. This is the closest he's been pretty much since the start of the race.
On board with Alex Salmon as he goes for the lead, dives to the inside, heading into turn 15. Not able to get there through the final corner, turn 16, using up the curve on the inside. Same thing on the outside. They drag race down and trying to break that draft. Up in front is Jan Korbs as he snakes his way down the front straightaway. Back through turn number 1. Now in the slipstream is Alex Salmon. Into the hard-braking zone of turn 2. Will he have anything to say? They have LMP2 cars in front of him. One to be specific, as now to the outside goes Alex Salmon. Back to the inside to make his way past the LMP2 car. And the race down to turn 6. Will he make any move? On the boost, trying to make something happen. Korbs gonna protect the inside. Salmon takes the outside into turn number 6. Trying to go around the outside is Alex Salmon. Not gonna get the pass done. He goes for the switch back and a stay behind Jan Korbs.
stay behind for now into the Mercedes arena. Could try and make something happen here on the outside. It will become the inside for the right-hander. They got LMP2 traffic, and he makes the move around the outside. They're still side by side as they come up to some LMP2 traffic now. And Corbs are going to have the best line. No, they're going to go 3 wide now. But I think Samuel's just about made it work. No, in fact, both cars have damage.
Contact on the sidewalls and around into the sand. It's going to go Jan Corbs, and he's going to go even further off into the wall. Contact with Alex Salmon sends Jan Corbs into the wall. Damage to the back wing and the entire right side of that LMP1. That battle ended in a nightmare for Jan Corbs. Alex Salmon goes through for P2.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. He's going to have to let some cars by and go straight into the pit. Yep. Because that car is absolutely ruined. That Audi R18, they were doing so well. The racing was absolutely brilliant, but out here, I'm not sure what happened here. They just started making contact. Corbs maybe going a bit too far to the right. Salmon not leaving as much space as he thought, and then through that final corner, just got really unlucky there. Could have carried on without much damage at all. He would have just lost the place, but then he hits the grass trying to get back onto the circuit, and it threw the car into the wall, and he'll get the fast repair, but that will have to be his pit stop. And I think it might just be slightly too early to make it to the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. He might have to do some serious fuel saving to make it to the end here.
Intense racing ends in damage for Jan Corbs. He's going to come back onto the circuit after that fast repair and tires and fuel, and we'll see exactly what's going to happen. Laubish comes in as well, and it doesn't look like he has any damage to his car, so possible that green flag pit stops were coming up now anyways, and it's just going to be an early pit stop for Jan Corbs, but it might not spell the end of his race day, and he might still have an opportunity. Right now, he still sits in third even after that wreck.
Yep, he does, and he's got, here is Spets actually, the leader, coming through turns 2 and 3 now onto Parabolica. But I think that might have just been perfect timing for Corbs, because I think he might just be able to make it the rest of the race with Laubish pitting now as well. So he might have just been extremely lucky there. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. We'll have to wait for the leaders to pit to see how much time he's lost there. But if I was Salmon, I'm pitting now because I'm pretty sure Salmon had a bit of damage there. I'd love to see a shot of his car. There he is. He does have a bit of damage, I'm sure.
Taking a look, see exactly on that right side. That's where he made contact with Jan Corbs a bit ago, and that led Jan Corbs into the sand. Don't know if he has much damage or any extensive damage, but we're on board with Alex Salmon taking a look at a replay.
Yeah, this is the replay of the move that he made. And I think Corbs already had damage there to the left-hand side of the car. And now Salmon goes for the switchback, but Corbs had enough boost saved up that he was able to mitigate against the switchback being made straight away. But now he has to defend the inside line. Salmon goes all the way around the outside, does brilliantly there. And now this LMP2 traffic ruined it for Corbs because he wasn't able to go anywhere. The LMP2 giving neither of them any room at all. And now there, Corbs moves across to the middle of the circuit, thinking Salmon's a bit further over to the right. They make the initial contact, and then it's just a bit awkward for Salmon. He has to make that corner a lot tighter than it needed to be, and just drifts wide slightly into Corbs there. And yeah, Corbs really should have been able to carry on going. He just got so unfortunate when he came back on the circuit. I think it was his rear wheel just clipped the grass and sent him around.
So Alex Salmon now sits in second place. Jan Corbs only down to third, as Laubish and Baldwin have had worse days than Jan Corbs so far today. But Jan Corbs now on fresh tires, a fresh car as well with that fast repair, and we'll see exactly what he is lapping compared to Alex Salmon as Corbs makes his way through the final sector of the racetrack and will be heading back onto the front straightaway. You can see that gap definitely a lot different than it was before with that pit stop, but between him and Salmon down to 51 seconds. That is a little bit down from where he was before he pitted, but taking a look at the track map, Alex Salmon not really dealing with a lot of LMP2 traffic right now. Jan Corbs not really dealing with any traffic at the moment.
Yep, and it's going to allow them to slightly mitigate the damage that contact, and he had to slow down quite a bit because his car was so damaged. He would have lost time not only from the time in the wall and getting out of the gravel trap and etc., but also he would have lost quite a bit of time on the way to the pits. Even though it was near the end of the lap, he had to go considerably slower than he would normally have to, as we see Salmon making his way through some traffic now. And I would expect Salmon to pit just in case he has damage, because he did make contact twice. So surely you'd think with the fast repair available to him, he would pit and take the fast repair, but seemingly not wanting to do that. But let's see where he would come out after a pit stop, and that might explain why he might just come out behind a lot of LMP2 traffic, so it might be waiting for that.
Oh, no! And a huge damage for Alex Salmon! That Salmon around at the pit entry in turn number 16. Who else is off? Timo Hayden. He was running second place in LMP2 Pro for Impulse Racing. He's off in turn 16 as well. What has happened in the final corner of this racetrack? Salmon involved, Hayden involved. Who else got a piece of this? Salmon trying to navigate around Timo Hyman, LMP2 second place at the time of this incident. He dove it up the inside, and Hayden makes contact with Salmon.
I think Hayden thought Salmon would be able to go further up the inside and be a bit faster through the corner than he was. So just turned in and tapped the rear of Salmon, and then Salmon trying to dive across to get into the pits, and dives right in front of Hayden again, making secondary contact right there. That's the first contact. Now Hayden wants to carry on going, but Salmon wants to go into the pits, and that's what causes secondary contact. And then of course he has quite a bit of damage, and he's going to spin the car around, and that is awful for Hayden because he's going to lose a lot of time trying to go around to the pits.
And I think we're hearing from our producer, Marco Barbanec, he might have forgotten to use that fast repair, or might have gotten a penalty for unsafe pit entry. So we'll see exactly what happens for Salmon. And there's Laubish into the pit lane after it. So we'll see exactly what happened with him. Here's the replay, Dane.
Looks like it might be similar traffic with the LMP2. Goes off wide, trying to avoid what could have been, and then locking up. Oh no.
Shades of Sebastian Vettel here about 3 years ago in 2018, unfortunately. I believe that's also the same corner as well.
Yep, it is.
Unfortunate for Laubish. And I have to point this out as well. Laubish is also German, so this is not...
Oh dear.
If he had a red car, I would also... that'd be too wild, but he does not. He is also not driving a Ferrari, so... He'll tow it back into the pit lane. It looks like he was registered as out now, so not a good day for Laubish. As we continue on the race, and about halfway done now, green flag stops, definitely near, as Spett still needs to pit, Carroll still needs to pit, Van Dyke, Hayden, McBride, and more still need to make their way into the pit lane. We're taking a look at Alex Salmon right now, who has exited the pit lane, trying to navigate LMP2 traffic, and taps the sand there on the outside. Is track limits. I didn't think we would have to talk about track limits, but I guess we have to, because it seems like in a good amount of corners, these drivers are going wide, trying to maximize the entire track width. We've seen it bite a lot of drivers today, though, Dane, but if they do it right, they're gaining time.
Yep, they are, and just looking at the instant limit for the first penalty is 16, and a couple of drivers nearing that limit. It could cause a little bit of drama near the end of the race. We're only halfway through, and some of the drivers are considerably closer to 16 than halfway. So yeah, it could be interesting to see some of the drivers maybe getting penalties near the end of the race, how that could affect them. Some of the drivers, yeah, that could cause some issues. There are some issues for Timo Hayden, maybe just being put off a little bit by the issues that he had earlier on with Salmon. And yeah, that's really not going well for him.
A lot of days starting to turn into worse ones than they originally had as we race through, and Jackson Bell slow going through the Mercedes arena. Not sure what happened with the 399 for Bell Autosport. See if we can grab a replay here from our producer Marco Barbonera. He exits turn 6. It looks like the incident might have happened in turn 8. Could it have been another incident of a lockup and right off the track here? We'll take a look as he heads into that corner. A little bit too hot, and around he goes.
Oh yes, so let a couple drivers past as well. That's it's always the worst when you spin and have to wait for your opponents to go past. Yeah, that's really demoralizing there, trying to race, and then all of a sudden, nope, you've got to wait, my friend. So unfortunate for him, but this is Richard and Germantis. And Germantis right on the back. Potentially we could be seeing him move into the hairpin after Parabolic. And now let's see what the exit's like out of turns 2 and 3. Richard doing a good job there to get a good exit. That's what he needed there. But is Arias going to be able to send it down the inside? Which is defending the outside line, allowing Germantis up the inside. Trying to go for the switchback, maybe going up the inside of, gets the switchback done, and that's brilliant defending from Richard. And he's kept the position.
A great move from Kevin Richard to keep the spot from Germantis. He's going to block it even more as they head through turn 8, and Richard's going to hold on to that position. Now you'll notice both of their positions are different, and both of their positions are in different numbers. LMP2 Pro is blue, LMP2 AM is green. Germantis is a part of LMP2 Pro, Richard a part of LMP2 AM. Now the way the points work, as Dane explained earlier, it is based on class, not division. So LMP1 has their own points and LMP2 has their own points, Pro and AM put together. So they are battling for points on the racetrack, even though they're battling for 2 completely different championships. As we take a look at a replay going through the final corner, Kevin Richard had one of the LMP1s, I believe, go right on by and keep on going. So we hop back to this battle for what looks to be roughly about 18th, 19th overall as they race on through. This is just a battle for points, not a battle for any positions in division, just the position in class for those points at the end of the day. Replay with Craig Jones, SCCR Sim Sports 388. Hard braking zone at turn 2 and gets it a little bit too sideways and around he went. We're seeing a lot more of those spins in these hard braking zones, Dane. Is it a product of the starting to worn tires that these drivers have?
I think it might be, but these tires should be lasting them until the end of the race. I don't think... Well, I've never done a race where I had to change tires at Hockenheim, so I wouldn't really know if it's such a very high tire degradation circuit. But looking at the track temperature, it's only 34 degrees. It could be a lot hotter. So it doesn't look like the track temperature is going to have too much of an effect on that. I think it might just be an experience with the circuit.
And for anybody watching in the US of A, 93.2 Fahrenheit is 34 Celsius. Had to whip out the Google for that one, but we're taking a look at Marco Pavona battling with, oh, there we go. Now we have 94 degrees Fahrenheit on our beautiful weather overlay, which you get as part of SDK Gaming. You can head to sdk-gaming.co.uk and take a look at all our pricing options for overlays for your league broadcast, personal broadcast, or any broadcast that you can do. And Wes Van Dyke has just retired from the race. Or sorry, no, he didn't. He is still in the pit lane. Disappeared on my end, but he's back on and heading back to the racetrack. His pit stops in full swing, just waiting on a couple more drivers to come in, most notably your current LMP1 leader Alexander Spetz for RLR Abruzzi Esports Silver. He is still on the racetrack, has not come in yet. Everybody else in LMP1 has, so Jan Korg and Alex Salmon have gotten their pit stops out of the way, albeit for damage, and they were kind of forced into the pit lane, but they got their pit lane done for today. But still waiting on a lot of LMP2 cars to come in. Alexis Bebert, your current LMP2 Pro leader, is into the pit lane. Owen Carl still needs to come in. Tim Barry, Matthew McBride, Kieran Smart, Schust, Bomeister, Wes Van Dyke just coming out of pit road. Sean Francis Hellegorch still waiting on him as well for Devotion Sim Racing. There goes Tim Perry. He follows Alexis and Owen Carl into the pit lane. And more LMP2 cars coming in, and Alexander Spetz is also into the pit lane. Almost makes contact with Matthew McBride as they enter the pit lane.
And had there not been contact with Corbs and Salmon both getting involved in contact, that could have been really bad for Spetz, because he would have lost so much time being stuck behind the LMP2 there, because the LMP2 was going pretty slowly on the entry down into the pit lane, taking it very safe, let's say. And yeah, Spetz would have lost seconds, 2, 3, possibly 4 seconds heading into the pits there. That would have been disastrous, but luckily for Spetz, Corbs and Salmon were involved in incidents, so it's not as much of a big deal.
Wes Van Dyke back on the racetrack, currently second place. LMP2 Pro as more drivers duck into the pit lane, and everybody has now made at least one trip into the pit lane today, so we can assume green flag pit stops are done, and everybody is good to the end in terms of fuel, and they'll be racing the last 20 minutes to the end without touching the pit road, hopefully, assuming nobody gets damaged. In a full lock for Jackson Bell. We've seen everybody getting loose out of that final corner, and even after the pit stops, it's still the same as Jackson Bell gets loose again and over the rumble strip. He's battling with Kevin Richard. Down to the inside goes Bell now, heading into 2. Gonna grab the spot, and he goes around the 399 loose once more. That car is all over the place, Dane.
He saved it again somehow. I was gonna joke and say I wonder if he's gonna spin again, and he almost did. Just about managed to hold on to it. And now he's going to look up the inside of Arias Yamantis into the hairpin. Yamantis probably not expecting it, and Hellegorch having to really back out of that one, because those two going side by side were so slow through the hairpin. But Bell might be having another look down to the Mercedes arena, and he's turned around.
Oh, huge damage.
Super heavy defense. Huge defense from Yamantis there. Bell trying to force his way down the inside, had just about enough space to do so, but didn't use all of the space given. And there was possibly a bit of netcode involved in that one, but I don't think the outcome would have been any different. You can see there is definitely an overlap there, and Yamantis gets sent around and pretty hard into the wall.
So unfortunate for Yamantis. He was trying so hard to battle his way back up to his LMP2 Pro competitors, and just a little bit too early on the brakes for Yamantis. Contact with Jackson Bell because he was so close. It's hard to judge when you're that second car. Very, very unfortunate. As the battle between Pavona and Richard still heats up, battling for 9th in LMP2 AM. Richard all over that back wing of Pavona in the 393. Through the slipstream to the inside in turn 5. Now this is going to turn quickly into the outside for turn 6. Will he be able to hold it around the outside and complete the pass as they go side by side into the braking zone? And clearing him on the braking is Kevin Richard. Closes the door on Pavona to take over 9th. Back into the Mercedes arena. Now 3 cars in this battle as Jackson Bell joins the fight. Richard leads this group ahead of Pavona, then Bell. And they all sit battling for 9th in class. Up to the battle for 2nd in LMP2 Pro. That's Wes Van Dyke and Owen Carroll. Hard braking zone of turn 6. They have an LMP1 sitting behind them. That's undoubtedly going to go right on around right here. And yes, they will. Jackson Bell made a move on Marco Pavona, and Pavona falls to 11th. Jackson Bell now into the top 10 for LMP2 AM.
So he's shown how he has somehow incredible car control. 393, getting loose over that curb again. They need to stop doing that. Obviously they don't see that everybody else on the circuit has done that already. But yeah, they really need to calm down and stop going so wide there. In GT cars you can get away with it, but these cars are so low to the ground that the floor just catches, and yeah, that's pretty uncatchable, as we've seen. Lots of drivers struggling over that curb and the curb out of the final corner as well, both of which are perfectly fine in GT cars. And Timo Hayden. Oh yeah, he's lost it again out there, and Chris Danes potentially gaining a position.
Chris Danes now up into third in LMP2 AM. Kieran Smart fourth. Hans Blancourt rounds out your top 5 over in that division of racing here today. 16 minutes to go as we take a look at a couple cars coming down into pit road. That's Blancourt coming down for his second stop of the day. I'm wondering if this could be a product of a too early pit stop. Yeah, he did stop too early, and he was unable to make it all the way to the end.
From damage, he pitted on lap 3. So, yeah, that was him and Marikal, I think, pitted at very similar times. So we might see Marikal coming down in a lap or so. Marikal pitted on lap... he's already pitted a second time, okay.
Now this brings the question, Dane, because we have a few drivers who right now are sitting in a spot where they might need to come back down into the pit lane, but not exactly sure just yet. We'll have to play the waiting game, and Craig Jones also one of them who pitted on lap 18.
Yep, and meanwhile we've got a battle for second in class in LMP2 Pro. We've got Van Dijk and Carroll in second and third respectively. There is a car off. That is Danes. Danes has lost it, possibly over the exit curb or the entry curb of turn 1, and gone hard into the inside area of the circuit. Not the inside curb, the outside curb. Just
he was not able to save that one.
Just about keeps out of the wall there. And manages to keep on going, but that could have ended a lot worse.
He saved one of those coming out of turn 16, and coming out of turn 1, not able to save that one, unfortunately. But he did keep it off the wall, but he did go for a spin through the asphalt and through the grass there. As we take a look at a replay, West Van Dyke contact with the car behind. I believe that was Owen Carroll. Yes, it was. So the Drive Dead Racing driver gets into the Impulse Racing driver, and I believe, yes, he did. He led him on by. Great sportsmanship from Owen Carroll there. Wes Van Dyke keeps second place, but it's still Alexis Febert at the lead of the LMP2 Pro field. Tim Perry leads LMP2 AM. McBride and Smart rounds out your top 3 over there. And Spets, Corbs, and Salmon still the top 3 over in LMP1. And pretty considerable gaps in between all of them, as Van Dyke and Carroll are going to continue to battle it heading back into turn 2. Through turn 5 once again, and then back into the braking zone. After that contact, this gap has widened pretty considerably. You can see it up to 1 second as they head through turn 6. So Owen Carroll fell back, and he gave that spot back to Wes Van Dyke after the contact, which was good sportsmanship, but that ultimately might hurt him a little bit, as he can now needs to reel him back in terms of the gap on the racetrack.
The LMP2 Pros, very small field that we've got here. I haven't seen too much from them, of course, because there's only a few of them out on the circuit. But yeah, but really out there, out in front, 15 seconds, he is cruising at the front of that field with 12 minutes to go. But Van Dijk starting to pull away a little bit from Carroll, but Carroll still well within striking range if Van Dijk makes some kind of mistake, which we've seen has been very easy to do over the course of the last 50 minutes. We've seen a mistake from at least one, more often 2 drivers, pretty much every single lap.
Van Dijk now widening that gap more on Owen Carroll. Timo Hayden and Diamanta sit way behind anybody else in LMP2 Pro, and the leader a solid 15 seconds up the road. So everybody in LMP2, as opposed to Van Dyke and Carroll, pretty spread out in the circuit right now, as those two will work their way back down the straightaway after turn 6 into the high-speed turn number 7. And now as we sit, 11 minutes to go, Dane. Time is running out for a lot of these battles, and Van Dyke drifting through that corner for a moment.
Maricel, something's happened to Maricel. Marical's lost about 5-6 seconds on the last lap, went off circuit, was battling with Hans Blanquart in 13th and 14th in class. So here is what happened to Maricel in the 376. Oh dear, locks up, goes wide, keeps it out of the wall, but has to do a bit of improvised rallycross.
And just taking a look at the track map, turn 8, turn 12 seem to be the main trouble spots on this racetrack, and I'd throw in turn 16 as well. Those 3 corners seem to be biting a lot of drivers, and with 10 minutes to go, Dane, the battles are going to need to reach an end here soon, and there's a lot of space in between these drivers and not a lot of time to try and make that space up.
And now we see Salmon making his way past Juventus. Only 2 retirements so far in the race, which is pretty good. And they are Laubish and Smith, who have been out for about half of the race so far, unfortunately. But everyone else keeping it, I would say keeping it clean. They haven't really been keeping it very clean, but they're keeping the cars in one piece for the most part. And it looks like most of them will be able to finish the race, which is good. We saw way too many drivers not finishing the race last week at the Nürburgring. But looking at each of the classes right now, it looks like the leaders are pretty much cemented unless they have something happen to them. It's not like the driver in second place are anywhere near close enough to be able to catch up the gap at the last 9 minutes.
Taking a look at Kieran Smart as we have 9 minutes to go. The points heading into today's race. Kieran Smart was leading LMP2 LMP2 but sitting in third is rival Tim Perry, currently in the lead. Tim Perry is looking to overtake Kieran Smart in the points at the end of the day, as Smart once again playing with those track limits on the final corner. But Smart gonna lose the points lead if they finish where they are now. And speaking of points leads for LMP2 Pro, very possible Timo Hayden is going to grab the points lead over there, as Rick Jock not even starting the race here in Hockenheim. Wes Van Dyke actually has a good opportunity to overtake as well, and maybe even Alexis Febert might also overtake Rick Jock for the lead as well, just depending on the amount of points everybody earns and where everybody finishes as the checkered flag falls. LMP1, taking a look over there, Alexander Spetz, he came into today with no points after the Nürburgring, so he's looking to get his first points of the year with the win, assuming he stays up at the top of the leaderboard. Jan Korbs trying to overtake Alex Salmon in the point standings, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen as we're on board with Timo Hayden as he slides it through the Mercedes arena. So at the end of the day, Dane, a lot of points are going to be shaken up, and we're going to start to really see who the championship favorites are as we continue on the schedule. Because here in Hockenheim, this is round number 2. Once we get into round 3 at Le Mans or round 4 at Silverstone, we're going to really see who the championship favorites will be.
Yep, and first couple of rounds maybe in LMP1 haven't been the greatest for all of the drivers. Of course, Korbs having difficulties in both races. Salmon winning round 1 but has difficulties now. He will still pick up 3rd place worth of points. And Spetz, of course, not scoring in the first round. So yeah, he's going to win this round and still be near the bottom of LMP1 standings, unfortunately for him. But they do have a drop round, so of course that won't matter too much near the end of the season. But in LMP2, there are a lot of drivers that you'd think could be in with a shot by the end of this 9-round season.
On board with Timo Hayden as he tries to get around Kieran Smart to earn some more points on the day for LMP2 Pro. Diving his way into turn number 8. And you can see it's just getting so loose. He's not even needing to put really any input into the wheel on exit. It just slides for him. And we're seeing that a lot on the LMP2s. Could that just be the fastest way around this course, is to trim the car to be so loose and like barely on the racetrack? As you can see, Hayden going right on the wheel, looking like he's drifting in his LMP2.
Yeah, that's not the ideal line there, and running wide out the final corner also a bit risky, as we've seen. But he's using all the curbs possible, really, as much of the racetrack as possible. And yeah, unfortunately, with the contact with Salmon and the multiple spins he's had since then, he's just nowhere near the rest of the P2 Pro drivers. But he's going to finish. It looks like he'll finish more or less 7th in LMP2. Maybe he might be able to catch up to Smart in 3rd, who is about 1.5 seconds up the road. But with only 5 minutes left, that's not looking too likely.
Taking a look at the battle once more between Wes Van Dijk and Owen Carroll. Oh, and Wes Van Dijk goes around! Around goes the 284, up into 2nd place goes Owen Carroll. And as we focus on him heading through turn 12, Wes Van Dijk too eager on the throttle, and around he goes. Dane, do we want to call a commentator's curse on that one?
Maybe.
We might call it a producer's curse. Marco is the one who switched the camera.
Marco not liking the sound of that one at all, but Van Dijk heading into the pit lane.
Oh, I believe him. Yeah, I might have gotten a penalty there for that spin.
Yep, that would have been a nice 2x, and yeah, it definitely was a penalty for him, unfortunately. And that moves Timo Hayden up into 6th overall in LMP2. And he'll gain a couple of points on Van Dijk there as well.
So Timo Hayden trying to still get by a good bit of LMP2 AM drivers to join his LMP2 Pro competitors. And right now, with that incident from Wes Van Dijk, he's looking in a good spot to try and overtake a couple drivers for the points lead in LMP2 AM. Sorry, LMP2 Pro. Trying to work his way through LMP2 AM drivers. And as the Pro drivers pass AM drivers, they are still gaining points, as the points are based off of the LMP1 and LMP2 classes, not the LMP2 Pro or AM divisions. So the more positions that they gain in their respective car class, the more that they will earn on the day. If we take a look at your current LMP2 Pro leader, Alexis Bebert in the 217, just trying to hold on for about 3 more minutes and grab the win. No pressure from Owen Carroll behind, a solid 18.5 seconds back to 2nd place currently in LMP2 Pro.
Yep. All of the drivers getting pretty spread out now. Near the end of the race, we see this fairly often. Although sometimes we get at least a couple of drivers close together having a bit of a battle at the end of the race, but no one is within a second of each other out on track at the moment. At least not for position. A couple of drivers maybe getting lapped, but yeah, nothing. No one close enough to even think about making a move on the next driver. 2 laps to go as Spets cross the line with 2 minutes to go.
2 laps to go now here at Hockenheim. Alexander Spets continues to lead the way, a solid 31 seconds ahead of Jan Korbs, and Spets has had, albeit an easy day. He got the lead and qualified on the pole, got the lead, and has held it ever since the drop of the green flag. And he is still out in front, and a great day for Alexander Spets a big rebound from the Nürburgring Dane if he can come home in first place.
Yep, definitely make up for Nürburgring and start off the season well, because of course that Nürburgring round won't be counted with the drop round that they have. So yeah, that round definitely won't be counted for him. It's a no point scoring round. How could you count it? So yeah, this is really the start of the season. That's how he's had to take it, really. He's had to take it as the first round of the season, and he's going to have an 8-round season basically. So couldn't really have asked for a better start to the season.
And he'll come across the start-finish line this time by, take the white flag, and one more lap around the Hockenheimring for Alexander Spets. Will complete 45 laps on the day in the 1 hour allocated on the timer. There's your LMP2 Pro leader, Alexis Bebert, coming across the line. They'll take the white flag as well as Barney the flagman waving vigorously on the left side of the circuit there. Tim Berry going to be the last of your leaders to come across the line as he leads LMP2 AM ahead of Matthew McBride and Kieran Smart. And the 383 going to come through the final 2 corners and grab the white flag here in Hockenheim.
Wow, on the clock then. Time is up.
An absolutely great day for Alexander Spets as he is going to navigate through a little bit more of LMP2 traffic and make his way into turn 11, the final concourse of the track, through turn 12. The trouble spot for everybody, it seemed like today, but it wasn't a trouble spot for Alexander Spets. A picture-perfect race, started on pole, led every single lap, and is going to come across the line. Alexander Spets wins round 2 from Hockenheim. LMP2 Pro now going to finish it out in the 2:17. Alexis Beberts, the Frenchman, going to come across the line, grab the win in LMP2 Pro. Also his first win of the season. And it's a triple first win of the season as Tim Perry in the 383 for Cabort Motorsport going to come across the line after gaining 7 spots on the day. Brings it through the final 2 corners, and Tim Perry is going to grab the LMP2 AM win. Now just waiting on the remainder of the cars to come through. And there's an entire line of Devotion Sim Racing cars. And I believe on the inside that might have been Jason Marichal coming in a little bit too hot. Yes, it was in the 376. But there's your Devotion Sim Racing drivers. And Alexander Spets celebrating coming out of turn 6. He is your LMP1 and overall winner here at Hockenheim.
Having to try and find the traction control off button there. But Spets, you're not going to be able to spin the car flooring it in an LMP1. They have well, pretty much 4-wheel drive really when you go from a standstill. So it's a pretty difficult car to try and do donuts with. But there is that very handy traction control off button that you can toggle, and then it makes it considerably more easy.
Full race results now on your screen. Alexander Spets grabs the win. Yen Corbs, Alex Salmon, Phil Baldwin, and Nicholas Labiche is your LMP1 finishing order. Top 5 for LMP2 Pro. Alexis Bebert grabs the win. Owen Carroll, Timo Heinen, Wes Van Dyke, and rounding out your 5 cars over there is Erigis Jomantas. Now, the LMP2 AM finishing order. Your winner, Tim Perry, Matthew McBride, Kieran Smart, Chris Daines, and Juiced Bomeister rounds out your top 5 there. The remainder of your LMP2 AM field will be scrolling across your screen as the official race results. And Dane, what a day here from Hockenheim. And we saw so many great battles, a lot of mistakes from a lot of drivers, but ultimately a lot of great battles that ended up in a lot of great racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was another brilliant round of the Apex Racing League Prototypes Championship, and yeah, this time it was Spets who took the win there. But it was really interesting to see because the LMP2s were having a really tough time out there, just keeping it on the circuit. So with all of the mistakes that people were making, I called it last week. I said last week, expect a lot of mistakes, which will make it a bit interesting. And that's exactly what we got because it's a new circuit. So, of course, there are going to be more mistakes than you would see at, say, a track like Nürburgring, where, as I said at the start of the broadcast, everyone's driven a lot of Nürburgring. Well, Hockenheim, for a lot of the drivers on the iRacing service, this is the first time they've ever driven Hockenheim in any sim. So, yeah, that's why we saw so many mistakes. And some of the weirder characteristics, like bottoming out over some of the curves, are just like some of the drivers only learnt that now.
And we're taking the momentum here from Hockenheim and we're transferring over to Le Mans, which is a very different circuit from both the Nürburgring Grand Prix and the Hockenheim Grand Prix circuit. Is we're going to a very, very long circuit. And just for comparison, 2.84 miles, 4.57 kilometers here in Hockenheim. When we head into the race in 2 weeks' time on May 7th and at the Le Mans circuit, it'll be 8.47 miles, 13.63 kilometers. So a harsh difference in both the track length and track style when we head into Le Mans. And Dane, these drivers are going to need to carry that over.
Yep, absolutely. That will be in 2 weeks' time. And as you said, Le Mans, a very, very different circuit to either of these two Grand Prix layouts, and it's not too far away, but it's yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. We saw a brilliant round at Le Mans last season, so hopefully we can have that again in 2 weeks' time. And I believe we have got Mr. Race Winner ready to join us for a chat. Let's see if we can get him into the interview room here. There, Alex, welcome to the commentary booth, and very different outcome this week from last week at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, it was a good race. Had some really bad luck on the Nürburgring, spinning myself out of the chicane, but I found really good comfortability in the setup here, and yeah, the race went good in the end.
Yep, absolutely, and it might have been helped a little bit by the drivers around you in LMP1, all four of the other drivers in LMP1 having issues in that race. So it really was just for you, manage the traffic and just keep it on the circuit, because you had, at the start of the race, of course, for the first 25 minutes to half an hour, you had about 3 to 5 second gap, which was probably a little bit pressuring, thinking, oh, I've probably got to extend this a bit because one mistake and I've probably got two drivers right on my heels.
Yeah, I tried to manage the same gap under the whole run. I got a good gap from the start and had some luck with the first traffic, so I could hold a 3-4 second gap, and then I had some more luck in the traffic, and the drivers behind me had some bad luck touching some traffic and getting damage, having to pit early. But yeah, when that happened, I just took it easy and tried to beware of the car.
Absolutely. Now heading out of the opening part of the season, 2 weeks time, the first break week next week, and then in 2 weeks time we go to Le Mans, which is, of course, everybody knows, a very different circuit to Hockenheim and Nürburgring. How are you going to be preparing for that round?
Yeah, I'm going to test a lot and try to find some more comfortability in the setups. Obviously, we're going to run very low downforce at that track because it's a lot of top speed and it's going to be a lot of fighting, I think. Slipstream is going to be everything. So it's going to be very important also.
Yeah, absolutely. And running on low downforce, it makes the rest of the circuit, where there are corners, pretty interesting. The balance of the setup is going to be quite crucial there, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard. But I think we will manage to find something fitting me.
Well, that's we definitely hope so, and we can have some more battles up at the front of LMP1. Well, thank you so much for joining us for a chat. Congrats on the win. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Not really. I just want to thank my family for letting me run some sim racing and having a rig in this room. And yeah, that's all it. Thank you for the interview.
Well, thank you for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Congrats on the win.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
Well, it was great to hear from your race winner there, and I believe we have another driver waiting for us, Josh.
Yes, we do. Juice Baumeister now joining us here in the commentary box. And Juice, it was a good day for you. 5th place LMP2 AM, 13th overall. How was that race from your perspective?
Oh man, this was some workout. I think I've never pushed this hard in the Apex League so far.
And it looked like a challenge from up here in the commentary box as well. A lot of battling with track limits, a lot of trips into the gravel and into the sand, and a lot of loose race cars. So that what it felt like in the seat, and just having to deal with all of those elements here at this new race course that everybody's still getting used to.
No, I actually knew the track quite well already from other games, and I could get up to speed quite well. This is in fact only my 3rd race on this track with this car. But yeah, the speed was quite nice. I started right. Well, I didn't start quite at the position where I finished at. I had to overtake a few people, while I actually hardly overtook anyone because it was mostly avoiding people spinning and such, especially at the start.
And next week, we're going to head over to the 24 Hours of Le Mans circuit in France. How confident are you at Le Mans? Obviously, everybody knows it from the endurance racing there, but we're not going racing for 24 hours. We're going racing for an hour. Very different than the long endurance races that people are used to racing there. Do you think you can walk away with another top 5, or maybe be at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to LMP2AM?
Well, I might be able to. The race last season, I performed pretty well, so I just hope to continue that.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here at Apex Racing TV. Anybody else you would like to thank?
First of all, my girlfriend. She is the one actually letting me race. She actually likes me to drive. And obviously my team, Cabot Motorsport, they are such an awesome team, setting us up for all the endurance races and several leagues as well. So I'm quite grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much for joining us up here in the booth. Juice Baumeister finishing in 5th place in LMP2AM. It has been a great day here from Hockenheim, and we are going to wrap up the day here on Apex Racing TV. But before we head out, we need to thank a few sponsors, including the new title sponsor of the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship, Wave Italy. Wave Italy's mission is to offer the best experience in driving simulation to an even broader audience, with the aim of conveying the thrill of a real race to passionate and professionals of esport and sim racing. We offer extremely performing and realistic devices, also suitable for corporate or private events. An unforgettable, immersive driving experience. Wave Italy are providing the overall winner of LMP1 the choice of their high-end Wave Impetus Imola or Wave Impetus Monza sim pedals in a color of their choice. Overall winner of LMP2 gets half a day of professional coaching at the Wave Italy Professional Training Center in Verona. To get 5% off any product at waveitaly.com, use the code APEXRACING5 at checkout. Also, make sure you check out Apex Racing Academy. It offers setups, track guides, data packs, and more to improve your performance in the sim. Head to apexracingac.com for more information and pricing details. And SDK Gaming has offered all of the overlays that you're seeing here, and they can offer you overlays for your league live streams or broadcasts. Head to sdk-gaming.co.uk for more details and pricing options. For Marco Barbadera, Dane Baird, I am Joshua Lee. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from the virtual Le Mans, but for now, we're saying goodbye from the virtual Hockenheim.